the dawn. I will praise you, O Lord, among the people, and I will sing praises to you among the nations, for your mercy is great above the heavens, and your truth reaches to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and your glory above all the earth. I will divide Shechem and measure out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim also is the helmet for my head. Judah is my lawgiver, Moab is my washpot. Over Edom I will cast my shoe. Over Philistia I will triumph. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me to Edom? Is it not you, O God, who casts us off? And you, O God, who did not go out with our armies? Give us help from trouble, for the help of man is useless. Through God we will do valiantly, for it is he who shall tread down our enemies. God will tread down our enemies. That's pretty. The first 5 verses are from Psalm 57. And the last half or so of the Psalm 6 to 13 are from Psalm 60. And it's interesting because what David has done, he has taken the praises from Psalms where he is asking God for help in victory in battle. And anytime that David sings a song or writes a prayer where he is asking God for victory, he always rejoices in the victory that he knows God is going to give. And these 2 parts are the parts of those Psalms where David is assuming that God is going to give the victory. And I think that David combines them into this psalm to remind the people that, yes, God does this. Remember how I sang this and we hadn't even gone into battle yet and we won because God went before us? Remember those 2 times? That's what we sing about. That's what gives us rejoicing. Because we know what God is going to do. We have faith that God is going to take care of us before we even go out. David even leaves in the part where in verse 11 God cast them out because they forgot to go with God and I wanted y'all to be. You didn't ask me and I've got something else planned. I don't want you in that direction, so that's going to fail. And it happened to David. It happened to the armies of Israel that when they did not go with God in front of them, they met with defeat. When they did not focus on God, when they did not seek God's direction, they had a problem. And I think this psalm is a good reminder for us that when we go where God sends us, and when we rely on Him, we have the victory. And things go the way that God wants it to go. Can handle everything that is being thrown at us. We just need to let Him and stop trying to handle it ourselves. I told Jimbo that I'd give him some time when he was giving his talk in the prayer because he was basically giving a prelude to the sermon tonight. And he didn't know it. But it's true. And we see things happening in the world and we get discouraged. And I think that a lot of the reason that these things happen, Satan is at work to distract us. He wants us to worry about this. He wants us to worry about this to keep us off of the focus on the mission that God has given us. And yeah, we should care about how our country is run. We should care about it. We're not called to be apathetic. we're also called to remember that this world is not our home. We are here as missionaries from a foreign country. And one day God is going to say, all right, it's time for y'all to come home. It's time for you to come back. And we will be pulled off the mission field. In the meantime, we need to do as much of the work that God has sent us here to do as we possibly can. And that is to go into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. Teach them to obey, make disciples, baptize them, help them grow. That's what we're here to do. And if we focus on doing that, so many of our other problems will come into focus and be taken care of. Because when God changes our heart, God changes or should change our attitudes and our directions. I think sometimes what we're scared of is that God is going to save people and change their hearts and change their attitudes, and it's not going to match up with our heart and our attitude. And when that happens, maybe we need to examine our heart and our attitude. Because we're not perfect either. We need to check ourselves on a regular basis to make sure that we are following what God wants instead of what we want. And it's very, very easy for us to take the attitude, well, if I want it, and if this is what I want, it's what God wants. And it should always be the case. But where we get things wrong is when we start saying what I want is what God wants. And instead, we should be saying what God wants is what I want. But too often, we just kind of expect God to follow our lead. We expect God to agree with us, instead of trying to find out what God has to say and agreeing with Him. How do we do that? Verse 1 in this psalm, my heart is steadfast, I will sing and give